أشراف مطلوب وطالبه لله أكرام من يمشي على قدم. العلم نور مبين يستضيء به أهل السعادات والجهال في الظلم.
والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين. أما بعد, inshallah, hopefully we're going to finish the book today. Last week we stopped at where? Asabat. We finished the first section. The second was al-asabat bil-ghayr, or al-asabatu bil-ghayr. And the second was, or the third was, al-asabatu ma'a al-ghayri. طيب. Asaba or ta'sib, as we know, is al-irthu bila taqdir, to inherit without having a specified portion. So that is often what we see as al-baqi, or the remainder. Okay, we've studied the first type, which is al-asaba bi anfusihim, al-asabatu bin nafs. This second type is al-asabatu bil ghayri. So make sure you concentrate on the ba. And they are basically women who their brother inherits with them. A woman whose brother inherits with them. For example, you've got akh shaqiq and ukht shaqiqa. Is that understood? Going back, last week we stopped off at al-asaba. Okay? We've studied the first one, which is al-asaba bin nafs. Asaba, individuals, men who are asaba on their own. Okay? The only woman that comes in the asaba bin nafs is the woman that frees a slave. She's the only one that comes into it. The rest, or the second type, al-asaba bil ghayr. They are women who are not normally asaba, lakin their brother is present. Their brother who is on the same level as her. So for example, akh shaqiqa and ukht shaqiqa, normally the ukht shaqiqa would give her what? Half or 2/3 if she's with two sisters of hers. If she's on her own, she would get half. Like in here, we're not going to give her half. We're going to give them the baqi. They're going to share among themselves. And if there's someone else, like an an ab, we give the ab his share and the her share, and then they still take the baqi. The same goes for ukht, akh li ab and ukht li ab. Likewise, exactly the same. And ibn and bint goes exactly the same as well. So all of these people, this ukht li ab, this bint, and this ukht shaqiqa, and there's another one, bint ibn afwan. Bint ibn with ibn. All of these women normally have a portion, a specified portion. Like in here, they're not going to get that portion. They go from the realms of what? From ashab al-furud over to asabat. They get whatever is remaining. Is that understood? Okay. That's al-asaba bil ghayr. The second one, or the third one, the last one is al-asaba ma'al ghayr. Al-asaba, not because of a ghayr, but with a ghayr, with another person. And they are basically the ukht shaqiqa with a child, with a bint. Okay? So the ukht shaqiqa, let's have it here. You have a ukht shaqiqa and you have a bint, for example. Right? Here, what happens is, we're going to give the daughter what? Nisf, because all the conditions are met. We're going to give her nisf. For the ukht shaqiqa, we're going to give her what? Baqi, excellent. We're going to give her baqi. Asl mas'ala is going to be 2. Half, one here and one here. The same goes for if it was to be ukht li ab. Is that understood? Khalas. Normally, the ukht shaqiqa, if she was on her own, she would get half. If she was with another sister of hers, ukht shaqiqa, she'd get 2/3. But here we have to obviously find something for her. Therefore we give her what? Give her baqi, because she now becomes a asaba. And there's a qaida, al-akhawat ma'al banat asabat. Al-akhawat, sisters ma'al banat, with daughters of the deceased, they become asabat. طيب, here what about if we put a bint ibn? Bint ibn. نفس الشيء. نفس الشيء. The qaida doesn't change. The reason being because these two are still banat. The only difference is what? Bint ibn gets what? Nisf. لا, bint gets what? Bint gets half and bint ibn gets sudus. Bint ibn, she gets sudus. Because there's sahibatun nisf. There's someone that gets a nisf. Based on that, what is the asl mas'ala? 6. Give the half to who? Bint. She gets 3. 1. What's left? 2. That goes to ukht shaqiqa. Is that understood? It could be said, Allahu A'lam, here that the ukht shaqiqa is closer to her brother than his daughter, than his granddaughter. So that is al-asaba bil-ghayr and asaba ma'al ghayr. Any questions on al-asaba, bab al-asaba, before we move on and we go to the next chapter? Any questions? No. طيب. The next chapter that we're going to study is bab al-hajb. And I'm going fast because of 2 reasons. Number 1, this is revision. Number 2, inshallah, we want to finish this today so that next week we can carry on with itq wa talaq. طيب. Al-hajb. What is al-hajb? Hajj is to prevent, pay attention with me, someone who's normally entitled to inherit, then being prevented from the inheritance. That is the meaning of al-hajb. مثلا al-hijab, what does it do? It covers the face of the person. Okay? If I say bayni wa baynaka hijab, between me and you there's a barrier. I can't see you, you can't see me. Or I can't come over to you, you can't come over to me. That is exactly the same for al-hajb, whereby the person that was meant to inherit doesn't inherit. Al-hajb is of 2 types. Al-hajb is of 2 types. Al-hajb bil-wasfi, and the second is al-hajb bil-shakhs. Excellent. طيب. Al-hajb bil-wasf is also, hajb is of 2 types. Hajb bil-wasf is of hajb bil-wasf, which is preventing a person from inheriting the one he's meant to inherit because of an attribute that he has or the other person has. One of the 2 heirs or one of the 2 people who are meant to inherit one another has a certain attribute that prevents them from inheriting. And they are of 3 types, or it is of 3 types. Al-qatl, ad-din, and what was the third one? Al-riq. طيب. Riq. The first one, if we talk about al-qatl, the person, al-qatl inshallah we shall see soon. Lakin al-qatl al-amd, if a person intentionally kills another, if a person intentionally kills the person that they were meant to inherit, so that they can inherit them, they don't inherit them. Or if the person kills the one they're meant to inherit without the intention of inheriting them, maybe they could have had a fight over something else. Like, nevertheless, it still comes under al-hajb al-wasf. So they don't inherit them. So for example, he runs him over because he accused him of, I don't know, stealing money of him, whatever, of him. That person doesn't inherit the person that he has killed. Likewise, ikhtilafu ad-din, if the 2 people are of 2 different religions, for example, the father is a kafir and the son is a Muslim, the son doesn't inherit his father, and vice versa. If the son is a kafir and his father is a Muslim, if the son dies, the father doesn't inherit. Shaykh al-Islam has an opinion whereby if it's in favor of the Muslim, then the Muslim can inherit the kafir, because that maslahah is coming back to the Muslims. So for example, if a father dies, a kafir, who's a millionaire, and his son is a Muslim, according to an opinion, he would inherit his father, because that maslaha comes back to the Muslims, that wealth will benefit the Muslims. Right. The third one is slavery. If one of the two people is a slave, they don't inherit one another, because the slave doesn't own anything. He is a property of someone else. He is the property of someone else. Right. The second type, al-hajb bil-shakhs. Al-hajb bil-shakhs. This literally means a shakhs, a person being blocked by another person. However, it is of two types: juz'i or kulli. Like these two. So hajb bil-shakhs is of two types. Where it's nuqsan, you're decreasing the person's share, or higman. Yeah. طيب. So hajb bil-shakhs is of two types. Nuqsan is when, we studied that one person can be entitled to a higher rate and a lower rate. The husband, for example, at times he gets half the wealth, and at times he gets what? A ruba'. So for nuqsan for him would be him getting the lower share of what he's normally entitled to. Lakin higman means that this person is totally blocked. I'll give you an example of nuqsan. Zawj and ibn. Okay? The zawj has how many shares normally? 2. What are they? Half or ruba'? Which is more? Half or ruba'? Which is more? Nisf is more. So here he gets ruba', and the son gets the baqi. So here the zawj has been given a nuqsan. He's been given the lower of his two portions. We haven't totally blocked him. We're giving him the lower of his two portions. As for here, we've got an ab, mathalan, for example, and a jad. The jad normally inherits, right? The father also inherits. However, here we're going to give everything to the father, and we're going to block the grandfather. The reason why we've blocked the grandfather here, what has happened to the grandfather here? What has happened to him, we've totally blocked him out. We haven't given him anything. Whereas with the zawj, we gave him what? The lower share. Here with the grandfather, we've totally blocked him out. Okay? The same goes for akh shaqiq and ibn. Akh shaqiq usually gets the baqi. He's asaba. But here what has happened is, he has come head to head with the ibn. Who gets what? Ibn gets everything, and he is blocked. He is blocked. Is that understood? طيب. In summary, hajb means to block the person from inheriting. To block a person from inheriting. It is of two types. Al-hajbu bil-wasfi, blocking a person from inheriting. The other person, I don't know. Blocking a person from inheriting who he's meant to inherit. And that blocking is bil-wasfi, the first one. Due to an attribute. Whether they are kuffar, whether they are they've killed the person, or whether they are slaves. So here, in totality, they get blocked. Al-hajr bil-shakhs being blocked because of a person. Okay? So it's as if you're going up the ladder, but there's someone in front of you. That person sometimes totally blocks you off. And at times, they bring you up a little bit, but you don't get your fair share or your full share. And it's called hajb bil-shakhs. So it's called nuqsan. Hajb bil-shakhs is of two types. Before that, hajb bil-wasf is of how many types? 3 types. Al-hajb bil-shakhs is of how many types? 2. What are they? Partial and complete. Partial and complete. I.e. nuqsan, which is partial, and higman in totality. For the example that we've got here for the nuqsan, where the person gets the lower share, is the zawj and the ibn. The zawj gets the lower portion of what he's normally meant to get. Here, we've got 2 examples where they've been completely blocked. The father and the grandfather. The grandfather is blocked by the father. The father gets everything here. The brother, akh shaqiq, and the ibn here, The ibn blocks the akh shaqiq. So the akh shaqiq doesn't get anything. طيب. The principles of hajb, I'm not going to go into them because you already know them. Because when we said now the jad and the ab, you automatically said what? The ab gets everything. When I said the akh shaqiq and when I said the what? The ibn, you guys already knew who was going to block who. So you already know these masail. Right. The next mas'ala that we're going to go into is called taqsilul masail. We need to know the number of shares that we're going to split the wealth into. However, as a muqaddimah, as an intro, we need to know 4 things. They're called an-nisab al-arba'. Okay. An-nisab al-arba'. Okay. The very first one is what? At-tamathul. Okay. So this, don't get confused. This is called nisab al-arba'. Why do we study the nisab al-arba'? We study the nisab al-arba' so that we know how many shares the wealth is going to be split into. You know the zawj, we said he gets half, or he gets ruba'. The father gets this, the mother gets a thuluth, or she gets a sudus. A sudus of what? A thuluth of what? This is where we're going to learn that. Okay, so you will often find, for example, zawj, and ukht shaqiqa. Okay, there are 2 things here that we need to know, that we need to find out. What the zawj and the ukht, what they get. You already know that. Up to now, we've studied this. So what does the zawj get? Nisf. What does the ukht shaqiqa get? Nisf. Up to here, you're aware. You've already studied it. You've already studied what they're meant to get. طيب. Here, this number in the green rectangle is what we want to learn now. Okay, this green box or this green rectangle is what we want to know, what figure to put in there. Okay, how do we know what figure to put in there? By one of 4 ways. The very first one is tamathul. Tamathul means what? هذا مثل هذا. هذا مثل هذا. What does mithl mean? Same. He is like him. Okay, so the tamathul is when the 2 denominators are the same. The maqam, in Arabic they're called the maqam. So here 2 and 2, are they not the same? They are the same. So this is called tamathul, i.e. we've got a 2 here as a denominator and another 2 equals what? 2. Because 2 and 2 are the same. That's tamathul. So going back to our box here, what number do we need to put in the box? 2. And then the next stage is actually splitting the wealth, actually giving them what they're entitled to. So here we give him half and give her half. Is that understood? We're going to leave that there for now. Okay. The next thing is what? At-tadakhul. Okay. At-tadakhul is when something goes into something. Al-an, when we were outside, if someone was to see you coming in, they would say what? دخل الطالب في المبنى. دخل الطالب, the student went into the building. صح? Okay. When you come into the building, when a person's standing outside, will they be able to see you? Why not? Because you're inside. دخلت في المبنى. You've gone into the building. Likewise, the same thing for the 2 numbers that we're going to now use. We're going to get a scenario, for example. This is tadakhul, yeah? So we want tadakhul here. Give me an example of tadakhul. Zawj. Jadda. Zawj and Jadda. Zawj and Jadda. Okay? Zawj and Jadda. Tadakhul simply means, you know, the two numbers at the bottom, they go into one another completely without having anything left over. So the Zawj here, when there's, what does he get? The Jadda and him. Then Zawj gets what? Nisf. What does the Jadda get? Sudus. Excellent. The Jadda gets Sudus. Okay. Let's have our green box here. Don't forget our green box. Okay. Our green box says it is empty at the moment. We need to find out a number. Okay. 6 and 2. Which number goes into the other? 2 goes into 6. It goes into 6. When it goes into 6, will we have anything left over? No. So this is basically 2 and 6. So you've got 6 over there. This is the 6. 2 will come somewhere here. You can't see the 2 because it is covered by the 6. If that is the case, what do? We have to use one of these two numbers because we don't need both. What number should we use? The 6 or the 7 or the 2? The higher number. Simply, the bigger number. So we put this 6 here. And then what do? The Zawj half of 6 is what? 3. 1/6 of 6 is what? 1. As for the other thing, leave it for now. For Tamathul, what did we do with the two numbers? We took one of them, the bigger one. For here, for this one, for Tadakhul, we took the bigger number. So we've got, for example, 2 wa 6. We take the what? Khalas. Tadakhul, you take the bigger number. Tamathul, you take any of the two numbers. Is that understood? Yeah? Okay. Now, the next was what? At-tawafuq. Okay. Tawafuq is when the two numbers are not the same. They're not the same here. The two numbers that are not the same. And one doesn't go into the other without there being anything what? Left over. However, they agree on a common number. A wifq. They agree on a common number. Okay? For example, if we've got a zawja and jadda. The zawja gets what here? She gets a rubu' because there's no child. The jadda gets a sudus. Okay. What two numbers are we working with here? 6 and 4. 6 and 4. How many times can 4 go into 6? Once. If you try to do it again, will that be possible? La. Okay, so what do? What we do is, if there's a longer way, there's the way on the Mudhakkara, but one of the students actually pointed out to us when we were studying it before, times these two, 6 times 4, 24. Divide that by 2, 12. 12 is your asl mas'ala. Yeah? What did we do? 6 times 12. So we've got a 4 here and a 6 here. So we divide these two maqams. The answer is what? 40. 6 times what? 20. 6 times 4, I was thinking of 8. 6 times 4, 24. Just divide that by 2. What'd you get? 12. So here, Zawja, Jadda. Zawja gets a rubu' obviously, and because there's no child. Jadda always gets a sudus. Okay? The green box, here comes the green box. That's where we always place our asl mas'ala. Okay. Our asl mas'ala, whenever there's a 6 and a 2 is what? 6 and a 2. 6 and a 4. Asl mas'ala will always be 12. Just take that as a qaida. Take that as a qaida. 6 and 4 meet. Asl mas'ala is 12. Right? 8 and 6 meet. 24. Is that possible for a 6 and an 8 to meet? زوجة لحظة زوجة بنت جدة خلاص possible. زوجة gets what? 8, half, 6. 6 and 8. Okay? 8 and 6 meet. The أصل المسألة is always 24. خلاص. Here, then obviously we give her what? 3. طيب. So here, we've now got the third red box, which or the green. 12 is the أصل المسألة. The final one is what? تباين. Okay? Let's see if this is clearer. Okay, this is clearer. Okay. Tabayun means the two maqams, that number and that number, are different. But, so there's no tamathul between them. There's no tadakhul between them. They can't go into one another. And there's nothing that they agree upon. There's nothing that they agree upon. Who can give me an example? Tabayun, Zawj, and Zawj gets what? Nisf. Thuluth. 2 and 3. What on earth is the connection between 2 and 3? Nothing. La shay. Khalas. Is there tamathul between them? Are they the same? No. Is there tadakhul? Can 2 go into 3 equally? No. Tawafuq. Do they agree on a number other than 1? 1 don't ever include. But they don't agree on a number other than 1. So in this case, this is called tabayun. Okay? And take as a qa'idah, any 2 numbers that follow one another, there's always tabayun between them. 6 and 7, tabayun. 8 and 9, tabayun. 2 and 3, tabayun. 5 and 6, tabayun. Okay? So here we've got 2 and 3. Have we understood what tabayun is? The next stage or the next step is to know what to do. Okay, we know it's tabayun. But what do we do to get the asl al-mas'ala? We simply times one number by the other. 3 times 2, 6. That's all it is. Here we've got the zawj and we've got the The zawj gets his half, the gets her third. Asl al-mas'ala will always be what? No. Asl al-mas'ala will be what? 6 and 2. Tabayun, صح? 6 and 2. عفوا 3 and 2. Asl al-mas'ala will be what? So it's 3 times 2, 6. خلاص. That is tabayun. Okay. Write these questions down. Yeah, we're gonna we're gonna stop on this and then carry on after, inshallah. Right. Okay. 2 questions. I want you to write down these questions. What is tamathul? And then put a stroke, say tadakhul, tawafuq, and tabayun. So what is tamathul, tadakhul, tawafuq, and tabayun? That's the first question. The second question is, how do we work out the aslul mas'ala if it is, or if the connection is, how do we work out the aslul mas'ala if the connection is tamathul, stroke, tadakhul, stroke, tawafuq, stroke, tabayun? Understood? The answer is, for tamathul, take any number. For tamathul, take any number. I know this might be in the mudhakkara, but the easier the more you write it, the better. So you write, for tamathul, you take any number. For tamathul, you take any number, because they're the same. For tadakhul, take the bigger number and make it the asl al-mas'ala. For tadakhul, take the bigger number and make it the asl al-mas'ala. For tadakhul, take the bigger number and make it the asl al-mas'ala. For tawafuq, times the two maqams with one another, multiply them with one another, and then divide it by 2, and then divide it by 2. The last one, for tabayun, multiply the two numbers. Multiply the two numbers. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Multiply the two numbers, and the answer is the asl al-mas'ala.
وقل رب زدني